This completely changes how we view the Texans. A new offensive look. What are the details into how training camp is looking? What's this offense going to look like? That's the biggest question. You have a lot of firepower. CJ Stroud, a new offensive line, a new group of receivers. This is what you want to see, and I am so intrigued to see what Nick Caley's got to do. And we got a couple things in terms of the training camp and what the actual system's going to be. Are they going to use running backs? Joe Mixon might not be ready for the season. All the questions about the offense will be answered today. Now, if you're new to the channel, 75% of you are not subscribed. If you would, be a huge excitement for you to come and join Texans Digest. The support of the channel has been unreal. Just want to say thank you guys for all the support on the recent videos. But there's been a lot of veterans speaking out. Justin Watson, John Mechie, about how awesome this offense is. And I feel like when the players are buying in, it just gives you that much more hype to go for the season. And one of the here's Texans Jacob on Twitter, on X. Really awesome in terms of how he does his stuff. But one of the main reasons he's very optimistic about the Texans offense is just the early days of camp due to the production without really featuring Nico Collins heavily until yesterday. The production throwing to tight end slot guys is something the Texans did not have, especially late into last season, so they could implement it a little bit more. Here's the thing with the offense. You're looking at a very big turnaround, right? A situation last year where Nick Caley kind of called out Bobby Slowick and his protection schemes, saying that they were amateurish. So that's we love to see a coach hold accountability for, hey, this offense wasn't great last year. Let's kind of look at the film. What can we do differently? How can I implement my own scheme? And I trust my quarterback to be able to audible out of plays. So I think not only is Stroud going to have a big bounce back year, he's going to be in contention, I believe, for an MVP season. But going back to what Justin Watson said, there's a lot of looking forward to this team. A lot of what New England did. Again, that kind of offense is what you're going to look forward to. Let's listen.
What's it's going to look like? What can you tell us about what this offense is going to look like?
Yeah, I don't want to divulge too many secrets other than it's going to be different. You know,
Okay.
I thought I maybe knew coming in what it might be like, but it's I think it's a mix of some things, you know, he did in New England, some things that he did in in LA, and then some ideas that he's just had and we've picked up from around the league. So we've definitely laid the foundation to be able to call anything that we want. Whether it's play concepts, motion shifts, guys in different spots. So there's gonna be a lot of creativity and seeing a lot of guys in different spots.
Justin, you played a ton.
So we know Watson is excited for this season. Little bit of a mix of things. Obviously, he's not going to be too specific there, but there's a lot of creativity. And when you say creativity, the first thing I think of, as I have a pattern on my shirt here, but the first thing I think of is a lot of motion. Some of the Rams kind of offense last season, a lot of combination of LA, New England. What does that look like? I think it's going to be smash mouth football, but a lot of moving the tight end back and forth, a lot of moving the slot guy back and forth. And Watson's going to be a player, a member of this team that's going to be implemented a little bit more than you'd think. So I think they're going to just kind of rotate receivers and just kind of try and catch you off guard on defense. It's going to be a mixture of Watson, Kirk, and Knoll in the slot, who I've heard all great things about in this kind of thing. So CJ Stroud's done a great job in camp, avoiding pressure, extending the play, not taking bad sacks, and he's consistently gotten yards down the field every single time. So that's what you want to hear. So they're just adding on top of this offense, and that's what you want to hear. Brett Coleman brought up a good point, and that's the Texans' all offense early in this episode. So basically he talked about the gap scheme change and how they're going to use a lot of play action, where I love that, where there's probably going to be a lot of bootlegs, get the tight ends involved, get the slot guys involved. So my question is, how is Jaden Higgins going to be involved? Is this going to look like a 1-2 Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp kind of offense? Because if it's, again, Nick Caley's coming from a Rams system. He's coming from a Sean McVay family. A very smart football coach team is the LA Rams. Love what Nick Caley brought to this team, or brought to the Rams last year, bringing to this team. I'm going to expect a lot of similarities in terms of let's run the football, and then let's run some play action. Let's run some bootlegs. And I think CJ Stroud's done a great job of that in the past, and it's kind of looking like a lot of what they've done in his rookie season. So Christian Kirk, again, this goes back to, I think, early July, but he commented on Nick Caley, very intelligent, very smart, does a great job communicating to us. And when this many players are kind of just buying in, it really just makes it that much easier to have a productive season. So this offense is dynamic, a lot of motions, pre-snap adjustments. That is what I was expecting. But Christian Kirk calling it out. He is the slot guy. He moves around a lot. But if he's saying there's a lot of motion, there's going to be a lot of motion. And when an offensive coordinator brings in a lot of motion, it's not to say that he's this great coach, that he knows what he's doing, but he's trying something different, and he's hearing the players. And when this many players are buying into this team, you want to actually think, you want to actually listen. Okay, what are they actually saying? Because that is a key thing. And John Mechie may not be a starting wide receiver, but take a listen to what he had to say, because this is actually very good information in terms of he was talking about Bill O'Brien playing with him in his last year at Alabama, and now how this offense could be very similar.
It's good. It's good. I relate to it a lot. I like it. It's very similar to an offense I had with Bill O'Brien at Alabama my last year, and a little bit of that Sark offense too, because of the West Coast. So it's been pretty good for us to adjust to it. It's been pretty easy. It's fun for the receivers. It's our type of offense for sure. It gives a lot of power to the offensive players. You know. A lot of trust with the offensive players, so we've been enjoying it.
John Mechie may not be a starter, but talking about the Bill O'Brien system, it does a lot to you. So I love the fact that he's actually going in depth there and saying, hey, I played at Alabama. I played with Bill O'Brien. It's kind of similar to what we're looking at here, and it's what Bill O'Brien did with the Texans is he made it a lot simpler. So it's kind of being described in a lot of different terms in how Nick Caley's system operates, because Bill O'Brien didn't run the ball as much as we thought in Houston. I know he was at Alabama. They ran things a little differently out there. But even looking at Bill O'Brien's system where he went to different places, I mean, he's a good coach. He wasn't the best GM because he traded T-Hop for a bag of chips, which, we'll never forget as Texans fans. But on the positives, it's 2025. The Texans are coming off a down year with one of the best defenses. I don't want to say all time because that 2016 defense was great, but this is one of the greatest defenses the Texans have had. Young, learning, figuring things out, and when you have a defense as good as it is offensively, your offense goes against a tough defense, and you kind of build things together in terms of how you get better. And that's the thing. When Nick Caley is continuing to evolve this offense, it tells you one of two things, where it could be a bad thing, where he's evolving it too much to where players are like, okay, you're just changing things every week. We have seen that in the past, and we have seen coaches get fired because of that. But I think it's more about understanding what works and what doesn't work. And that was what Bobby Slowick had such a bad problem with in terms of understanding what works. And I say that very specifically because Bobby Slowick just did not compensate for situational football. He ran the ball 20 times in a game against the Chicago Bears week 2. The run game was not there. The Bears defense was one of the better ones at stopping the run. When something goes wrong, you pivot. You make changes, and you come out in the second half and you do a better job. I think that's the difference between Nick Caley and Bobby Slowick. It's not the fact that the offense was bad last year. Yes, it was. But the fact that they didn't have receivers, the O-line was bad. The play calling was the biggest thing to me that I just didn't understand, because you look at the fact that this offense was going to be something special heading into 2024. It got kind of overhyped because everyone's like, oh, the Texans suck. The Texans are bad. The Texans this, the Texans that. And now everyone's kind of carried that narrative over like they haven't changed anything. But in reality, Nick Caley has been one of the biggest changes for this team. The O-line is different. The wide receivers are different. But we're continuing to question the Texans, and they're like, oh, they just played bad last season. Those are all the casual fans that are not Texans fans. So, I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody. But looking at this season, the Texans are so underrated right now that I cannot understand what is going on. And to my point, Bobby Slowick in the second half of games last year didn't score any points. it's because the defenses made adjustments throughout the game, and Slowick just said, no, I'm just going to play my game. I'm going to continue to do my thing. I'm going to continue to run the ball, or let's just throw the ball up by 14 points. That is the stupidest thing ever, because then you throw a pick. Again, the Bills game is a prime example of we should have lost that game. The Lions game we should have won, but we didn't score in the fourth quarter. So it's just little things that you kind of just change and alter as the game goes. Nick Caley is a better mind, and I think Slowick had a good system, but you have to be able to pivot, change on the fly. All right, let's try something different. Kind of like the Lions offense last year where you're running trick plays. And I'm not expecting it to get to that point. That'd be awesome if it does. But looking at this team, yes, you want them to run trick plays. You want to watch an amazing, spectacular, fired-up offense. But it's not the point. You want them to be able to change things up. If nothing's going according to plan, why not run a trick play? Because that is what gives you the momentum to try something different instead of just running it, play action, run it. Like, again, it's just a system. It's just monotonous. I mean, that's what I feel like the Texans offense was last year. And Stroud seems so much more pumped up this season than he was last year. And just, again, looking at this offense, it's going to be new. Slot guys are going to be there. Tight ends are going to be there. Nico Collins is going to be involved. It's not going to be the same RPO, Nico on a slant, but they are going to be involved. So you're going to see a lot more vertical routes from Collins. You're going to see a lot more motion in the slot, and you're going to see a lot more running the ball up the middle. It's not going to be a system ran by something a carbon copy of, but you are going to see a lot of new stuff for the Texans, at least from what I'm reading, at least from the research that I've done. You guys can be the judge. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Am I going a little bit too much on this team in terms of how great I'm talking them up? I know we're fans, but we got to be realistic of how the season's going to shape out. And I think this team means business, and they really could win a Super Bowl. That is my non-biased opinion, that this team could take the top off, and if they are hot come January, they can go on a run similar to what the Commanders did last season. Everyone's going to forget about the Texans because of what CJ Stroud, he had a down year. So I can't wait for the Texans to prove everyone wrong, and that's just what they're going to do. This offense means business, and we'll end it on a clip to where Dalton Schultz is incredible. But it's just the fact that this play right here just sums up the Texans offense. I mean, look at that. One hand bobble, he snagged it. That's what we want to see going into the season. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's been Mike Zanetti, Texans Digest. Hit that sub button if you're new. Appreciate all the support as usual. And thank you for hanging out with us. It's been Texans Digest. Yours truly, Mike Zanetti, signing off.